Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to HG Radio, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration. Here is your co-founder and host, Kim Becker.
Hello, gorgeous, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and this is Hello, Gorgeous, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration on Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. This episode is brought to you by Amplified Marketing Group. They specialize in affordable mobile solutions that will get you noticed and help you retain customers. Check them out at yourphoneguy.com. That's URPHONEGUY.com. Our guest today is Becky Savage. Becky is an RN, MSN, and the founder and executive director of the 525 Foundation. Hi, Becky, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you on our show. I learned about you several years ago, but just recently I've had the opportunity to sit and meet you, and I'm so grateful for you to be here and to be able to share your story.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me and giving me the platform to share my story with other people.
Awesome. So you have been tirelessly sharing your story around the country in schools and other organizations as a way to prevent other families from going through what your family has endured. So will you share this story with our audience and tell us about Nick and Jack and what happened?
Sure. Our story really started back in June of 2015, actually June 14th of 2015 to be exact. We were celebrating graduation parties in our community with our older two sons, and Nick and Jack went on to another party and came home at curfew, 12:30, and went to bed. And the next morning, I found Jack unresponsive in his bed, and Nick had actually passed away at some point during the night. What we found out was that they both were underage drinking and had decided to experiment with a prescription medication, which happened to be an opioid, and it took both of their lives while they slept.
And so you had shared with me that you were the one that found them and that you were grateful because of your experience, that you were grateful for the one. I can't imagine being grateful, but share with me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I'm a nurse, and I have been trained in saving people's lives. So I think my husband had been out of town with our other two younger children, which in a way I believe was a blessing because it was already hard enough for my younger two kids to comprehend the loss of their older two brothers, but to have actually been there and that morning it would have been horrible. But I was able to, after I found Jack, perform CPR, and I knew that I gave him the best chance that I could if he were to survive. So I'm just thankful that my husband didn't find him or my other two kids. And that is something that happened to me, and that I was at least trained to be able to give them a chance.
Well, and you and I have spoken to your boys were good kids. So you had your one son was getting ready to graduate or had just graduated from high school, and the other one, was he a freshman in college? Is that correct?
Yeah. So Nick had just finished his freshman year at Indiana University, and he was majoring in microbiology and chemistry. And Jack had just graduated from high school, where he had graduated with honors, and he was going to be heading to Ball State University in the fall, where he was going to be majoring in business. So these were kids, like I tell people, they were kids just like most other 18 and 19-year-old kids. You know, they had dreams and aspirations in life. They were involved in sports with their family, their community. They had a great group of friends. So for something like this to happen to them was a shock. Um, but I think what it shows people is that it can happen to anybody.
Hmm.
And that's part of what our message is when I do go out and talk with kids and I talk with families. I paint the picture of who Nick and Jack were, and it's not typically the picture that people have in their minds of somebody who will die of an overdose.
That's right.
And so I think by sharing their story, it's helping to break some of that stigma, so that people, hopefully can realize that it could happen to them, and, start those conversations with their kids. And, um,
And I think that that's what's so important too, is just, I think all of us, we all think, oh, it'll never happen to me, oh, it'll never happen to me. But you know the thing is that we don't know. We give our children the tools that they need to go out, and then part of being a parent is we have to let them go. So we have to let them,
right,
go out, and you guys, you guys were all together, and then the kids wanted to go. That's your job as a parent. You can't, my late husband would always say to me, Seth would go and do something, and Mike would say he's doing his job. And I would say, yeah, but
right,
I don't necessarily have to like it that he's doing his job. But, you
right,
as parents did exactly what you were supposed to do, which you let them go and spread their wings. And it was just an unfortunate circumstance. But I'm grateful that you have been able to take that circumstance and build it into something that's absolutely beautiful, to be able to
yeah,
help
thank
educate
you.
more and more people. So before we talk about that, you got to talk a little bit about the hockey, so that people can
Yeah,
understand where you
our
and I
numbers
spoke last
came
week.
from.
Yeah, where the numbers came from, because like hockey isn't
Yeah.
even on my radar, but it sounds like you guys were diehard hockey fans for a long time.
We love hockey, and our boys, all four of our boys, I'm the mother of four boys, and they all grew up playing hockey. I think Nick and Jack were on the ice maybe at 3 years old, learning to skate, and it was just a big part of our life. I know hockey consumes every weekend, it seems, for like 6 months out of the year. And so it was bonds that we had formed with playing hockey, with those families that we spent every weekend with traveling with four kids on four different hockey teams, that really, you know, was part of our family. They became part of our family. So when we were talking about starting a foundation and doing something in memory of Nick and Jack, creating that legacy of love for them, we couldn't think of anything else other than their hockey numbers to name it after. So 5 was Jack's hockey number, and 25 was Nick's hockey number. So thus came the creation of the 525 Foundation.
And what do you hope to achieve? What is it that you guys do with that program that you created to honor your sons?
Well, it started off real grassroots. I'm not a professional speaker. I taught in a local nursing program. And so the most people I had really ever talked in front of was 30 people. So we were asked, just locally, to talk about underage drinking at a town hall. And we figured that since our boys were participating in underage drinking when they made the poor choices to experiment with prescription meds, that we would. And there were over 200 people that showed up, which we were promised, maybe 10, 15 people will come. So it was, made me really, really nervous, but I just spoke from the heart, and I told our story and told who Nick and Jack were, and, what had happened to us. And it really, the feedback after that was just incredible. It was, a room full of parents who were terrified that something like this could happen to them. And they wanted to come and learn and listen and hopefully learn from what had happened to us. And it just kind of grew organically. Like, we were getting phone calls from different high schools locally, and then it started getting national attention. And so I've really, it's just grown by me talking to high school kids. I talk at conventions. I talk at parent groups, community events, and different things like that, just trying to bridge the gap of being unaware of the dangers out there.
And so you also do, I've seen a couple of their drop boxes now too. Is that
Hmm.
correct?
Yeah. So that started out as our first program, just going out and speaking. And then we participated locally in some take back events. And the amount of pills that were picked up at the two DEA sponsored events that happen annually were just overwhelming. And, it was really like, how are all these prescription medications out here, and available to our kids? So we spoke with a local grocery store and talked about our ideas of putting in a drop box, a permanent pill drop box, right outside the grocery store there, and they agreed. And it's grown to we have 17 boxes here locally, where it's safe, it's convenient, and it's free for anybody who is going to the grocery store. We have a couple located at a hospital here locally as well. But we're just encouraging people to drop off their medications. That has been a huge success. And then we started another program called the Wise Up program, which is just we're really trying to create social media posts and just kind of tips on wising up. Hey, did you know type campaigns,
Do
just
you
to help
have,
encourage prevention.
which is, I think, awesome that because that's what I think, people, you don't know what you don't know. So I think
Right,
by you
right.
using your son's stories to bring awareness to this, there are parents that either, have seen signs and have ignored it or don't know what signs to look for, or,
Hmm.
kids that they don't understand. Look, you can't mix alcohol with this particular type of drug because it can be dangerous. I think that they just think it's all
Right,
fun and games until somebody gets hurt. Do you encourage,
right.
is there some sort of do you have like a conversation starter like with the parents? Is there verbiage that you encourage them to use if they were going to approach their child, or at least have that start that conversation about, hey, that you shouldn't do XYZ?
Yeah. Well, what I've learned in talking with the students across the country is there's always a general theme to the questions they ask me. And I try to share that with the parents then that I talk to, is that kids they always want to know how to get out of a situation that they may be
Mm-hmm.
in, but still remain like the cool kid, or, they don't want to be that person that looks different than everybody else. So I talk to parents about, have an exit plan with your kids. This is something that you can talk to your kids about ahead of time, that you can practice, you can rehearse in the car on the way to and from different practices or to school, just so that when they're in a situation, because we know now it's not a matter of if, it's when. When they are in a situation that they're uncomfortable with, that they're going to know how to get out of it because they've rehearsed it with you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
it's just giving them those tools.
and I also think too, what you've done is you've helped to open the conversation between the child and the parent. Years ago they
Thank
used to
you.
do, you had to sign something saying that if you were at a party that you would be okay calling your parent to have them come get you, and the parent sign that
Hmm.
contract saying, I won't be mad at you if I have to come get you. And so I
Hmm.
think what you have done with a lot of these programs is that you've opened up the conversation so that the parent isn't fearful of starting the conversation with the child, and the child
Hmm.
isn't fearful having the conversation with the parent. And I think that's invaluable.
It's so important. The open lines of communication are so important, and we know that conversations can save lives.
Mhm.
So why not have them?
That's right. That's right. So, what are your big
Yeah.
dreams for these programs?
My big dreams. Oh my goodness, I would love to see 525 Foundation to be a household name.
Mhm.
I dream big, of course. But I would love to see it, be chapters started in different communities where it's just all prevention based, where we can, encourage kids to be involved in prevention strategies, and parents getting involved with the prevention strategies in the community, and just to see that grow, you know, be
And
more
I
accessible, I guess.
and I think that that's it, because what you don't know is, unfortunately, you won't have I don't want to say the quantitative numbers, but the lives that you will save. I guess it's just the fact that the kids are still here. And
Hmm.
that's what you will do, by going forward. So have you had any like success stories? Has anybody ever come to you and said, because of me listening to the story that you shared about Jack and Nick, that I didn't do this, or I walked away from that? Has anybody shared stories like that with you?
They have, and actually, that's what I tell people that is what feeds my soul, is when I
Mm-hmm.
get those messages after I've spoken at a school. And I remember I spoke at one, it was last year, right before prom season. A school up in Chicago brought me up, and I spoke to the community, and I spoke to the school. And then we just started sending out like an email afterwards saying, hey, any tips on how we can improve um, you know, our talk, different things like that. And the gal wrote back and she said it was spot on. It was perfect. In fact, one of the counselors that was at prom, a kid came up to them and said, because of Mrs. Savage's talk, our prom plans changed. We totally changed our prom plans because of her talk. And
Wow.
I don't know what their plans were, but it was obviously something that they felt that they shouldn't be doing after I talked. And it just gave me goosebumps, something like that. We never know
Yeah.
what we
N-
prevented them from doing.
That's
It's
right.
just those feel good things that makes me feel like, we are making a difference in Nick and Jack's name, which
Well,
is
and
a
I
win.
I tell my son, all the time after the loss of my husband. Seth was 14 at the time when he passed away, and I always tell Sethy, it's life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And
Mm,
I look at you as such an inspiration because I feel the same way about you. You did not have to do what you're doing to carry their memory on. Nobody would have said anything negative if you just decided to wall up in your house, for 3 years, for you not to talk about it anymore, to wear your heart on your sleeve. And you inspire me in that you've
thank
chosen not to do that, that you've taken this situation that could devastate anybody, and you've decided, you know what, no, I'm going to go out and I'm going to share my story, as hard as it is, so that this doesn't happen to somebody else. It doesn't happen to another son, it doesn't happen to a daughter, and it certainly doesn't happen to other parents. And so I really
thank you.
commend you for that, because that's something that's not easy. I'm sure it's not easy to do.
It's not easy to do, but I'm doing it for Nick and Jack, and
That's
it
right.
is just a way that we're creating that legacy of love. It's
That's right.
their way of still being able to make a difference in this world.
That's right. So through all of this, you have forged a wonderful relationship with Terry Bradshaw. Can you share a
Yes.
little bit with
Oh,
us about
yeah.
how that came about?
Yeah. Um, so, like I had said, after our original town hall meeting that we spoke at, we got a lot of feedback from that, and one of them was a message from the Today Show with Megan Kelly way back when, and they invited us to be on their show. We were on her show, and that night after our show, our emails just blew up with messages, and one of them was this very, very heartfelt email from this mom who had also lost her son from an overdose, and I just really felt the connection. And at the end of the email, she stated that her husband was Terry Bradshaw, and we, just had over the years have forged a relationship. I think it's just one of those things that when you have something like that in common, you kind of have that relationship anyway. But they're just the nicest people in the world, and they've really wanted to help see our foundation get off and running and to succeed. And so the last couple of years, they've come to town and we put on a gala with Terry Bradshaw as our guest. And last year, he brought a friend with him. He brought David Verity with him. And this year, we were supposed to be having it actually this Thursday, but we've had to postpone it because of this little thing called COVID-19.
Yes.
So we're hoping that we'll have that again maybe later in the summer, because we've really love it when they come to town, and they're just super, super nice people,
And isn't it
very
amazing?
loving. And
Yes, and that would have and again, it's just I always say, good things come out of bad things, and I think that about
yeah,
this COVID-19, a lot of good things are going to. We don't know what they are yet, but a lot of good things come out of them, and so that relationship unfortunately came about a bond that the two of you have felt or an experience that you both had. But how amazing is it that you were able to that she reached out to you, that you were receptive to that, and now this beautiful friendship has just blossomed from that. I think that's incredible.
yeah, they're just really genuine people, who are very giving, and I think it maybe helped her heal too,
Mhm.
to help somebody else, because she had, been through this a few more years than I had. It was still really raw with me, and just to have somebody there to talk to, um, was really, really good. It was a therapeutic thing for me, and um, probably for her too. So it was a good thing.
There is something about that. I know that, after I lost Mike, the women that would come up to me and would say, "Hey, I know what you're going through," and I'm sure too. And so again, I want to plant the seed for you because of the fact that you've taken this tragedy and have done something amazing, and that you're okay, and that you're still here. That you will inspire moms, unfortunately, that will go through this same experience going forward, and that they'll look to you because you went through it and you did, and you're okay. And I think that that's probably too where, the Bradshaws too, they're like, hey, there probably aren't a lot of people that they meet that they can say, I know what you're going through. And
Hmm.
so for you, I think you've probably inspired each other, right, on a lot of different levels, because they were
Yeah.
able to look at you and say, hey, we know what you're going through. And yet you've been able to look at her and say, okay, look, she's still here, I'm still here, we can do this together, it's going to be okay.
Right. It's that tribe. I swear,
Hmm.
it's that, the people you surround yourself with, and the people who help lift you up.
Hmm.
It's just amazing, and, like you said, out of tragedy, sometimes beautiful things happen. And I think you're right. I think our friendship is one of those things.
Hmm.
I
I
also
agree.
think the 90, plus thousand people that we've been able to tell Nick and stories, or Nick and Jack's story to, are also one of those beautiful things. And hopefully we've touched somebody's life because of it.
Well, and I think too, it's interesting. I know when Michael had always said he wanted to make history, his degree was in
Oh,
pre-Columbian archaeology, and so he's made history now. He's been recognized on the congressional floor and in Washington D.C. And his impact is so much greater being gone, unfortunately, than what it could have been had he still been here, I think. And I think that way about Nick and Jack too. No matter what they would have done through their college careers and whatever they would have studied and gone on
hmm
to do, that the impact that they're making on this world now is far greater than what it would have been had
it could
they
have been.
even. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's
It's,
because of you, because you brought light
oh,
to the situation. So I
oh,
think that's
thank you.
amazing. I think that's amazing. All
Thank
right, so
you.
tell us, where can people contact you if they'd like you to speak, and where can they find out more
Yeah.
about the 525 Foundation?
Well, we have a website. So we're at 525foundation.org. And we also have a Twitter and an Instagram and a Facebook page, and we're at 525 Foundation on all of those. And yeah, they can send me emails at info at 525foundation.org. It's all on our website. They can find that. But I'd love it.
Awesome. Yay. Well, we are almost out of
Yeah.
time. Thank you so much, Becky, for joining us today. I
You are
appreciate
so
you
very welcome.
taking the time to share your work, the work that you do in honor of your sons. I think it's amazing.
Well, thank you very, very much. I appreciate you too, Kim. Thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you. If you have any questions or comments or would like to know more about the guests on our show, or for more information about Hello Gorgeous, feel free to contact me at kbecker@hellogorgeous.org or visit our website at www.hellogorgeous.org. We invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and download our mobile app. Thank you for joining me today on Hello Gorgeous, Everything Beauty, Cancer, and Inspiration. I'm your host, Kim Becker. And until next time, stay gorgeous.
Another beautiful day, walking in the sunshine, spending the time with you. Last night we had a good time, dancing in the moonlight and loving the night away. I can't imagine what it'd be like. I can't imagine what it'd be like. I can't imagine what it'd be like without you. I can't imagine that.